Welcome back, investors, to the Investing with Our YouTube channel for another video. If you're new to the channel, I am a UK-based investor focusing mainly on US stocks, and I started the portfolio I will be showing you today in April 2021. I am fortunate enough to have gone past the golden milestone having a 100k portfolio, and I'll be showing you the ups and possibly more importantly the downs of my investing journey. This includes the buys, the sales, and the dividend income I receive. So if you're a returning viewer, smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe so you can follow my journey. Now, let's get into it. So today's video is going to focus on the last week of May, where we hit a record high within the portfolio where we passed £106,000. So last week, the portfolio ended at 104,480, and this week it ends at 106,152 for a 1.3% gain, which equates to £1,422 of profit. And that was after a crazy week where most of the headlines were dominated by this: the Trump and Musk Twitter spat. So I won't go into the nitty gritty of this, but essentially Elon Musk had some criticism for a new bill and tax spending proposed by Trump. Musk said this massive, outrageous pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Now, there was a back and forth between them both, which really affected Tesla's share price. But ultimately, for me, Tesla's technology either works or it doesn't. And in a way, it's better if it's safer, because that's what ultimately you want. You don't want him getting favors off Trump and releasing a unsafe product, but ultimately that would, in the long run, that would be worse for Tesla. So you want a decent product. So some people are saying that something is going wrong with the cyber taxi that is due to be released next week, and this is something that is being staged. And it could be. You never know. You never know with Trump and Musk what they could be up to, because it doesn't make sense for you to have some of these conversations in public. But ultimately, we don't know. So this is what happened to Tesla share price. So you went from 321, and after these conversations, it went as low as $277, ultimately settling at $300 by the end of the week, where it was suggested that they will have some kind of conversation and potentially make some level of peak. But my holding in Tesla, I have 24 shares, and I'm up 35% even after the share price crashed this week. Long term, I'll be honest, Elon's involvement in politics, it's not helping the company's share price, but then he doesn't care. But ultimately, if they build a good product, especially if they can release the cyber taxi in a successful way, the share price is going to shoot up. But some people are suggesting the share price falling from about 350 all the way down to 322 before the Twitter wars suggests something might be not potentially going right with the cyber cab. But we shall see. We shall see how this plays out. Also, this week, Broadcom reported earnings. It had marginal beats of both earnings and earnings per share, but the market dropped because of guidance of the next quarter having slightly lower revenue expectations. But I just want to give a quick shout out to Broadcom, which is up even after the shares went down after the earnings. It's gone up 20.74%, so it's doing really, really well. As this is the summary for May, let's have a look at some of the dividend payments I received. So it wasn't the biggest month, so I got £48.35 in dividends. Those were paid by MasterCard for £9.53, Apple for £2.69, AbbVie for £33.56, and Costco for £2.57. I've also had payments for June already, so a big one, which is a very popular stock, Legal & General, paid me £199.21, and I've got £55.44 for Centrica. Now, if we look at the overall dividend history so far this year, we're at £775.16, and June is a very big month for me historically. If you look at previous years, I've had £389 for the year before and £348 for 2023. My portfolio was more dividend focused in previous years, but I've focused a bit more on growth stocks. That's why my dividend payments annually have dropped. So right now I've got about 16% of my portfolio, which I would class as dividend focused, which equates to companies paying more than 3% dividends. I have many that pay under 1%, but I don't own those companies mainly for the dividends. But there are some companies such as Rio Tinto that I own mainly for the dividends that it pays and not necessarily its share price growth. here is a chart that you haven't seen before. It's the payments from companies that I've held within my dividend history. So it goes all the way back to 2021. So I mentioned the dividend payers within my portfolio amount to around 16%. And the ones that I still have are Imperial Brands, which is my biggest payer so far, at a whopping £1,865. It pays me every quarter. And last year, for example, it paid me £177 in Q1, £76 in Q2, £65 in Q3, and £158 in Q4. And so far already it's paid me £158. I'm expecting another payment in June, and it's gone up about 40% while I've held it as well. So the share price has done really well too. The other ones I've kept so far are Legal & General, as I mentioned, which has paid me £199, and overall has paid me £916 since I've held it, all the way back since 2021, where it paid me £28.51 and £20.07. I still have Rio Tinto, which is always down on my portfolio, but if you add the dividend payments that I've received from it, we're at £596, which puts me up overall. I still own AbbVie, which has paid me £461, and quite a few companies that pay me dividends, but not big ones like MasterCard, Visa, Costco, Apple, Google, for example. So overall, I've been paid £8,475 since I started my portfolio journey. But this includes payments from an investor account that I have, which I don't really go through on my videos. But if you want to see that, comment down below, and then I'm happy to show how I'm doing on that as well too. So if you've liked my content so far and the visibility that I'm showing on my portfolio, then please give it a like so other people can see it, and subscribe so you can continue following my journey. So here are the dividend payments from Elgin and Centrica, which I haven't deployed yet. I'm going to deploy it next week with my monthly deposit. So I generally try to deposit £1,700 a month, which hits the ISA annual allowance of £20,000, and I will be deploying half of that next week. So if you want to see what I'm going to be buying, then tune into next week's video. Although I make monthly contributions, when situations occur within the market which I see as buying opportunities, then I do make additional deposits. And I bought some more of HIMS last week after it was announced that it's due to acquire UK-based telehealth company called Zava, which gives it presence in other European countries such as Germany, France and Ireland. And the market initially rose and then dipped. So this is an unusual one because such an acquisition makes great strategic sense. For example, Zava is a platform used by 1.3 million active customers with 2.3 million consultations delivered in 2024. So it makes great strategic sense. Obviously, it depends on how much they've paid for it, which they haven't disclosed yet. But it really helps in growing HIMS's customer base. But the share price initially went up, but then went down. But this is an unusual one, and I say that because there's a lot of short activity for this stock, which is artificially suppressing this stock share price. So it just gets pushed down every time it reaches about $60. But the fundamentals of this company is still strong. So I bought an additional £250 worth of shares last week, and I think if it still continues to trade sideways, then I will still buy some more because I really believe in this company. And the next earnings report, we'll see how it continues its growth and expansion. But overall, I'm bullish on this company. So I bought a bit more shares on that one. So this is a recent acquisition of mine, which I was bullish on, which I made a video on why. But another company which I bought very recently, and I made a video on that as well, with the view that it will do, is Meta. So I bought this about 5 weeks ago, and already I'm up just under 18%. So let's have a look. So this is my average in Meta, which is $582, and already it's just under $700. And this is a company which I went through and the reasons why I bought it, which is doing well. And I think HIMS will do similar, but I just have to wait. Generally, investing is a waiting game. If you buy good companies, if you wait long enough, they're just going to do well, as you can see with all the solid amounts of green in the rest of my portfolio. So overall, for the month, I am up 3.7%, which equates to £3,823 gain. And let's have a quick look at the portfolio overall. So Google, finally, it's up. So in the last two videos, generally Google has gone up in the middle of the week and ended down by the end of the week. But this week it's gone the opposite. So it was down in the middle of the week, but at the end of it, it settled at $173, which means I'm finally in the profit for Google, which is my biggest holding. Let's see how long that will last, but I think it will, and long term I think this is a $200 stock. Rarely are you going to get a tech company of this quality at a PE of under 20. I think it's still a no-brainer long-term buy for me. MicroStrategy, about even, as Bitcoin price didn't really move that much last week. Visa up almost 19%, so my third stock, which is above £9,000 in value, and it's doing really well for me. As is MasterCard, up 12.71% for a £973 gain. Imperial Brands up 62% for a £3,261 gain. As we saw earlier with my dividend payments, if you add those payments, this is going above £10,000 in value for me. Meta, as I said, doing fantastic, going past the £8,000 mark in terms of value for a 17.92% gain. Microsoft, which is one that is doing well for me, so just under 20% in gains, and if you look at the last month, it's up just under 9%. Tesla still up 35%, even with the Twitter wars that happened last week, so up £1,420 in gain. Carnival up just under 70% for almost a £2,000 gain. Hims has still gained, even with the shorts out there pushing the share price down. Amazon up 11% for a £392 gain. It too has had a very good month, so up 13.27% so far for the last month. Nvidia up 66%. It's had a good month as well, up 21%. Elgen with a big fat dividend and also finally being in the green for me. So this has traded sideways for a whole year, so up 2.8% for the whole year. But I, like many other people, hold it mainly for the dividend. And if you look at some of my posts on Trading 212, there's some massive holders of Elgen. I saw one guy who had a £5,500 dividend payment. And if you think about me, I've got a holding of £3,369, which paid me £200 in dividends. His holding is about £150,000. So he's one of the biggest holders of Elgen I've ever seen. AbbVie up 22% for £585. Centrica up 46% for a £947 gain. Rio Tinto down 18%, as I mentioned earlier. If you add the dividend payments I've received from it, then I'm actually up on this holding as well. Broadcom up 75%, up £1,147. Apple up 2.8% for a £67 gain. Costco up 26%, £486 gain. And KLA, finally I'm in the green on this one. So let's have a quick look at how it's done for the month. So it's up 16.65% and breaking past the $800 mark. ASML down 16%, but this is another one where I think the next earnings are in July, and I expect this company to recover. Because if you look at the revenue for this company, it keeps growing and it's got big solid net income, and I expect it to bounce back. So yeah, a quick recap. £106,000, which is the highest my portfolio has ever been. So I'm really happy about that. A good month. Let's hope that continues for next month. Again, please subscribe and like the video and follow my journey, and I will see you on the next one.